Tall, stoic, handsome, and mysterious. No, we're not talking about me. We are talking about Neuvillette, our brand new 5-star Hydro character. Neuvillette is a super unique Hydro DPS character that uses mechanics that no character has ever used before. He is extremely fun, hits like a truck, but is a little bit complicated. So I am here to explain to you everything Neuvillette. His kit, his best teammates, his best weapons, his best artifact set, you name it, I'm going over everything. So let's hop right into the guide. Throughout this entire video, Neuvillette will be level 90 at Constellation 0 with talents 888, holding his signature weapon unless otherwise specified. Let's start with Neuvillette's normal attack. The attack string is nothing too special. It's a pretty slow 3-hit auto string. But don't worry, this string is the least important part of his kit. Now, his charge attack is what his entire kit revolves around, so listen up. He channels a massive geyser from his hand, dealing hydro damage during the duration. If you hold it for its entirety, it will hit 8 times. If he is above 50% health while channeling, he will lose HP every half second. But if he dips below 50%, he will stop losing HP during the channel. You can move around freely while channeling, forward, back, side to side, and you're even able to aim the skill up and down to an extent. And the damage this deals scales with Neuvillette's max HP. Now, if you try to use his charge attack, you'll notice it takes forever to start. And if you release it before it's fully charged, it's pretty weak. To fire off his enhanced charge attack called Equitable Judgment quickly, we need to do something first. So it is now a perfect time to go into his skill. His skill, Oh Tears I Shall Repay, does hydro damage in a large AoE and does 2 more bonus effects. First, and least importantly, it does a Pneuma follow-up attack, the large golden animation after the water. Cool. But the big deal is if he hits an enemy with this skill, he summons 3 source water droplets around the target. If you start up your charge attack within the vicinity of source water droplets, Neuvillette will absorb them and speed up his charge attack prep time. If he absorbs 3, which trust me, you almost always will, he will unleash the charge attack immediately. You also restore 16% of your max HP for every droplet you absorb. So it's a constant balancing act of lowering your HP and raising your HP in perfect Fontanian fashion. So as you can see, absorbing these source water droplets is key to facilitating Neuvillette's playstyle of spamming his giant hydro pump charge attack. Neuvillette's burst, Oh Tides I Have Returned, besides having a sick animation, does a ton of hydro damage in an AoE on cast, and shortly summons 2 waterfalls after dealing even more hydro damage. But as you may have guessed, it also summons 6 source water droplets, providing you with 2 opportunities for instantly charged charge attacks. Summon droplets, absorb them, and blast people with your charge attack is the name of the game. Neuvillette's first passive is as follows. When anyone in the party creates a hydro-related reaction, he will get 1 stack of past draconic glories. For each stack, his special charge attack damage is increased. Each reaction is counted separately for the stacks. So you can't electrocharge 3 times for the max stacks. You'll need to do electrocharge, hydro swirl, and hydro crystallize to get the max stacks, for example. His A4 passive boosts his hydro damage by 1%. For each percent of HP, he is above 30. So at 60% HP or higher, he's getting 30% hydro damage bonus. If he was at 45% HP, for example, he'd only be getting a 15% damage bonus. So it's best to try and keep him healthy when able. And finally, his out of combat passive allows characters to swim underwater faster in the waters of Fontaine. Absolutely game changing. Now let's go into some tips you're gonna wanna know about Neuvillette's gameplay. Real quick, I'd like to give a big thanks to Tokyo Treat and Sakuraco for sponsoring this video. The leaves are starting to fall and Halloween is right around the corner, but don't worry, Tokyo Treat and Sakuraco are ready to celebrate with you. With the taste of autumn and Halloween in Japan brought right to your door so you can enjoy it in the comfort of your very own home. This month's Tokyo Treat Box is the Halloween Snack Haul. We already know Japan is the king of snacks. So when Halloween snack time comes around, you already know they're ready to game. We got sweet potato Kit Kats, sheesh, a limited edition Pokemon Choco Pie, and literally my favorite candy I've ever had in my entire life, Black Thunder. You have to try it. With tons of cute Japanese Halloween themed snacks in here, you're gonna have a great time munching. Sakuraco highlights one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world this month, Kyoto. Koyo means autumn leaves, and this box is all about painting a picture of you enjoying a beautiful, relaxing autumn, watching the Koyo in Kyoto, Japan. Taste Kyoto's rich tea culture with this soothing hojicha tea, and maybe pair it with this insanely delicious yuzu dorayaki. This month's box also comes with this beautiful brocade flower dish, hand-painted to evoke those beautiful autumn vibes. And as always, to help paint the picture and learn more about where these snacks are coming from and the history of them, is a beautifully detailed booklet in each box. So what are you waiting for, homies? Go grab yourselves a Tokyo Treat or Sakuraco, or both, box today using the links down below. Do not forget to use code Eakes to save $5 off of either box. And thank you again to Tokyo Treat and Sakuraco for sponsoring this video. Back to the vid. First off, source water droplets last 15 seconds, so you actually have a lot of time to play around them. You don't need to absorb them all immediately as fast as you can. Secondly, and this is a big one, Neuvillette can get knocked out of his charge attack. This is huge because if he sucks up 3 droplets, starts up his charge attack, and then gets knocked out of it, those droplets are wasted. The next charge attack you try to do, if there are no droplets on the ground, it's gonna take forever. So having a shield with Neuvillette is going to be very helpful. Finally, for my controller playing gamers, you do not have to hold the charge attack the entire time. Once the channel starts, you can let go of the button and move around freely with both sticks. Damage rotations with Neuvillette can be pretty flexible due to how long the water droplets last. Your best rotation will depend on his teammates, but will usually look a little something like this. Burst, charge attack picking up 3 orbs, charge attack picking up the other 3, skill, charge attacking again with the new 3 orbs, and then swapping out. Or you can skill into an immediate burst, charge attack, charge attack, charge attack, skill one more time into a final charge attack. This combo works really well because you use your skill, which generates a bunch of hydro particles, and then you burst while the particles are still in the air, catching them after you do your burst, not wasting any energy. This does require you to use all the source water droplets that are on the field as soon as you can, so it requires Neuvillette to be on the field for a long time. So now let's go over how to actually build your Neuvillette, including the best stats you're gonna want on him and his best artifact sets. For artifact sets, I think the 2 best sets are clear: Heart of Depth and Mara Sussy Hunter. Heart of Depth gives hydro damage % and buffs your charge attack damage after using your elemental skill with the 4-piece. These are both valuable buffs that Neuvillette will take advantage of. You just have to make sure to use your skill before you start firing off your charge attacks. But he is also able to easily get full value out of the Mara Sussy Hunter set. The 2-piece bonus is great, giving a bonus to charge attack damage, and Neuvillette's HP is constantly lowering and raising through his charge attack and droplets, making the 36% crit rate from Mara Sussy Hunter almost always active. Through my testing, it seems that Mara Sussy Hunter does a little bit more damage than Heart of Depth, but I would just use whichever set you have the best pieces of. If you already have some sick, nasty Heart of Depth pieces, I don't think it is worth it to go spend all the resin to get Mara Sussy. They are both very good. If you're still working up to those 4-piece sets, any combination of 2-piece HP, hydro damage, or 2-piece Mara Sussy will do fine. Elephant in the room here, Vorukasha's Glow. It doesn't boost his charge attack at all. It's just his elemental skill and his elemental burst, so I do not think it is going to be able to keep up with the former. Now, going back to stats, Neuvillette's energy is very important to him. More bursts is more droplets, is more damage. With my testing, my Heart of Depth set has about 145% ER, and I've been able to get my burst back up quite consistently, especially including teammates. While my Mara Sussy build has about 128% ER, and it seems to struggle a bit. I think it's fair to say aiming for 140% ER on Neuvillette is going to be an amazing benchmark to hit for consistent rotations. But if you're not using a signature weapon or another weapon that gives energy recharge in any way, you may need to raise this by 5 or 10%. For substats, you're going to want crit rate and crit damage, nothing weird there. But since almost all of his damage scales with his max HP, HP % is going to be his most valuable scaling damage stat. Energy recharge is going to be very important for having his burst up reliably for more droplet generation, while stats like attack % are not useful to him at all. They do not scale with most of his kit, only his normals, and the Pneuma portion of his skill. It should be avoided when possible. Elemental Mastery is a more niche stat on Neuvillette. He applies so much hydro that his teammates are going to be reacting off of him more than he is reacting off of them, so it's not super important. So your stat priority should be crit rate and crit damage. Then as much HP % rolls as you can get, followed by energy recharge, then flat HP, and then after that, elemental mastery, but doesn't matter too much. This brings us to set piece stats. For your sands, HP % is almost always going to be the way to go, but an ER sands could be very strong if you're unable to hit the ER benchmarks he needs. I of course recommend trying to get enough ER through your substat rolls, but ER Sands is not a bad option at all. For Goblet, standard hydro damage % is going to be your best bet. And for Circlet, whichever crit set you need to balance out your ratio, crit rate, or crit damage. Now on to weapons for Neuvillette. He has a very niche kit. He scales with HP percent, and most of his damage is through his charge attack. So there's honestly not too many weapons that his kit can fully take advantage of. Obviously, his signature weapon, Tome of the Eternal Flow, is absolutely cracked for him. 88% crit damage, HP percent, and a passive that when his HP changes, gives him stacks, increasing his charge attack damage, as well as restoring 8 energy to the character when he reaches 3 attacks. So yeah, this is obviously his best weapon. HP 5 stars like Jade Falls Splendor or Everlasting Moonglow really aren't that strong on him. They give him HP percent, but besides that, the passives are pretty useless. The only other 5-star weapon I can see being valuable to use on him is surprisingly Lost Prayer of the Sacred Winds. For once, a character actually enjoys the movement speed buff. Since Neuvillette is able to maneuver around during his charge attack, being able to dodge attacks is nice. And the passive grants elemental damage bonus based on how long they're on the field for, and Neuvillette spends a long time on the field, so it's not a bad option. He does have some fantastic 4-star options though. Everyone, prepare yourselves for another common prototype Amber W. HP percent is the stat we'd like the most, as well as generating energy for Neuvillette, which he desperately needs, and even heals the team. This might just be his second best weapon in the entire game, and is completely free to play. The new event weapon, Ballad of the Boundless Blue, is all right. It gives energy recharge, and it increases charge attack damage by 36% at R5. These are effects that Neuv wants, but it's nothing extraordinary. Sacrificial Jade is the new Battle Pass weapon, and it's another option. It gives him crit rate and a conditional huge HP percent increase. Problem is, it only lasts for 10 seconds, which he might outlast on field. I think this weapon works, but I'm not sure I'd recommend picking it up over some of the other weapons on the Battle Pass. Favonius Codex is never a troll option, generating a ton of energy particles for himself and the team. And since his rotations keep him on the field for so long, he can even stay on the field long enough to get 2 procs of Favonius Codex for himself. Finally, my last recommendation, it's actually a solid option, Hakushin Ring. If you're using Neuvillette with some Electro partners, he will easily proc the passive, granting himself and his Electro partners a 20% elemental damage buff, as well as the substat being 30% energy recharge, which he enjoys a lot. It's time to discuss Neuvillette's team comps. As a Hydro DPS character that wants to be on the field for a long time and doesn't normal attack, his team comps are a little bit limited. He unfortunately doesn't synergize well with Hydro powerhouses like Xingqiu and Yelan, and he doesn't benefit from characters that boost attack like Bennett. As of right now, his best team by leaps and bounds is Hyperbloom with Raiden Shogun and Nahida. Both Raiden and Nahida's skills last so long that it allows Neuvillette to spend all that time on the field while still consistently proccing Hyperblooms. Neuvillette makes this team feel unstoppable. He keeps the Hyperblooms coming, which are doing massive damage, but on top of that, Neuvillette himself is pumping out so much personal damage alongside it. A more free-to-play option for Neuvillette Hyperbloom would be something like Dendro MC and Lisa, Kuki, or even Dory, although it would be a lot weaker than the former. We all know Kuki is the queen of Hyperbloom, but you're gonna have to be up in the face of the enemies to make sure her skill actually hits the seeds. For the final slot on Hyperbloom, there are a lot of great options like Fischl for tons of damage, energy generation, and Electro Resonance. Baizu fits amazingly here with how long his burst lasts, giving Neuvillette extra healing, but more importantly, the small shields giving him stagger resistance. Kidado works here too, providing a shield to Neuvillette while unlocking Dendro Resonance, and even Barbara makes an amazing Neuvillette partner, activating Hydro Resonance, providing off-field healing, and boosting his Hydro damage percent with her C2. Finally, just a big shield like Layla or Zhongli are perfect in the final slot. They make sure he doesn't get knocked around without getting in the way of causing all those Hyperbloom reactions. The rest of these teams are pretty much just team comps that allow Neuvillette to deal raw Hydro damage to the enemies uninterrupted. I'm talking Freeze, Electrocharge, and Mono Hydro. So for Freeze, when the content is ventiable, he is an absolutely godlike partner, grouping them up to just get absolutely smashed down by Neuvillette. He's gonna keep them frozen and boost Neuvillette's damage with Viridescent Venom. But any animal character works here to boost up his damage and to swirl. Ganyu is here for quadratic scaling on her burst with Venti, and Barbara's here for healing and her aforementioned Hydro damage buffs. But these can be swapped out for many different characters like Kokomi, Mona, Diona, Layla, or Zhongli. For Electrocharge, it's more of the same. A group of reactions that are easy to proc that don't get in Neuvillette's way of dealing a ton of damage. Fischl and Yae Miko make great sub DPSs with Neuvillette, along with your favorite Anemo, Shielder, or second Hydro or Electro teammate. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Luckily, Luckily for Monsieur Neuvillette, Beto's burst actually works with charge attacks. So against multiple enemy groups, Beto and Neuvillette will absolutely mow down enemies. She is the perfect partner for electrocharge comps when the Abyss floor works for her. And for mono hydro, things like double hydro, Zhongli Layla, and an Animo are going to work. Or even throw in the Geodudes on there with Zhongli, Albedo, and an Animo. These teams keep Neuvillette safe and let him do his thing, but they're probably not his highest DPS comps. Finally, from out of left field comes a surprise contender for a strong Neuvillette support, Dia. Yes, Dia's interruption resistance from her skill actually synergizes very well with Neuvillette. In my testing against Makukenki, it keeps Neuvillette from getting knocked around from his attacks and lets him continue doing huge damage. Now, is Dia better than having Zhongli or Layla in that slot? Perhaps not. But hey, I'm going to take any opportunity to play Dia I can because she's really hot. Let's do a quick little rundown of his constellations. Keep in mind, I don't have any of them unlocked and I've not been able to test their exact strength, but they are pretty self-explanatory. C1 gives him 1 stack of Draconic Glories upon entering the field and interruption resistance when charge attacking. The stack is nice. It actually lets him function at max strength with less elemental reactions needing to be caused from the party. And if this gives a ton of interruption resistance, this is an insanely strong constellation. I'd give this a solid 3 out of 5, maybe even a 4 out of 5 rating. But I'm not able to test it myself, so go out and do a little bit of research on it before you go for this constellation. C2 makes each Draconic stack give 14% crit damage up to 42% crit damage. This is a ton of free stats. I'd give this an easy 4 out of 5 rating. C3 is actually his normal attack talent, so the charge attack level. I'll give this 4 out of 5 as well. His Constellation 4 is whenever Neuvillette is healed, 1 droplet generates on the ground, but it's only once every 4 seconds. This is kind of cool, but we want to be charge attacking with 3 orbs being absorbed, not 1 or 2. You might get 1 extra charge attack out of this if you play it perfectly. I think it's a little bit mid. I'd give it 2 out of 5 stars, but if you're going for his C6, this might just go up to a 3 or a 4. C5 is his burst talent. It's all right. Give it 3 out of 5. And for the faithful or the successful, his C6. For each orb absorbed during his charge attack, it increases the duration of the charge attack by 1 second. And he continuously absorbs orbs while charge attacking. He doesn't have to suck up 3, finish, then suck up 3 again. He just continues the attack. And it also releases 2 additional currents every 2 seconds, dealing 10% of his max HP. Yeah, this is pretty much going to melt every mob in the whole game in 1 charge attack, except for a level 1 Hydro Slime. This is an easy 5 out of 5 stars. So what are my initial honest thoughts on Neuvillette? I think he is very strong. Him on Hyper Bloom driving the reactions while doing a ton of personal damage legitimately felt absurd. Hyper Bloom was already a strong enough team, but this feels like potentially the highest damage Hyper Bloom team you can reach right now. But after that, his team comps get a little bit wonky. There's nothing that synergizes perfectly with him and his rotations right now. They work well, don't get me wrong, they just don't feel as tailor-made for each other like Xingqiu and Hu Tao or like Faruzan and Wanderer. I feel like he's waiting for some future characters to really unlock his true potential. We need something like a off-field Hydro DPS that doesn't require normals to trigger, and then maybe even like a Hydro Shield could really help him out too. And with that, my complete Neuvillette guide has come to an end. Homies, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was very informative to you. Now, before you leave, check if you're subbed to the channel. It is my absolute dream to hit 50K subs by the end of the year. I think we can do it. So check if you're subscribed, guys. We're working really hard on the videos. I would appreciate it a lot. Also, come check out the stream. I'm streaming on Twitch all the time. Come play Genshin with your boy. I would love to have you. And a huge shout outs to the patrons supporting your boy over on Patreon, helping keep these videos coming. Sumi, 120, Zik, Ken, Caldo, Cloudy, everyone else on Patreon. Guys, I appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you very much for watching this video. Happy 4.1, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.